Bonjour, bonjour. Did you not, huh? Go with Robert this morning?
Yeah.
Good deal. Go okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. I don't know if we're gonna have very many people with us today because I had several people say they weren't coming.
Oh, really?
I was like, okay. But those things you just kind of keep going. People either come
The
back
show goes
or-
on.
Yeah, the show goes on pretty much. So, yeah. So they get non-golden. We'll let you know this thing already started recording.
Recording,
So,
okay.
yeah, just FYI.
We telling the life story on here.
And anything you don't want the world to hear. Not that the world's watching, apparently. But those 5 people that might be watching or decide to watch one day in the future. But we usually cut out a lot of the excess stuff.
Yeah.
Usually have Michael chop it up a little bit before we put it online because sometimes we'll just have like little bits of dead time in between or problems here and there that we try to resolve beforehand. Echinacea Kingdom, and what do you know?
Me?
Mm-hmm. Jockshagago, everything.
Yeah.
There,
Everything.
confidence. I like it.
Or the medicine, I guess.
There you go. That's not. Chogaggle, nothing. Chogaggle. We got a couple minutes though. Yeah. Yeah. 4 minutes or so. See if I can talk to it. Like I said, I think most of our live folks aren't gonna make it because Paul had said he had something going with his family, kind of family emergency. Dwight had to take his dog to the vet at 1.
Is Dwight Charles Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
I know it's confusing when people do that when they don't go by the name.
I know.
It's hard too when people like they'll go by their Indian name, and then after a while I forget what their name was.
Oh, yeah.
Like they'll just have like Ilkmegi or something like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I guess this guy like in English, I don't even know who he is, you know? Which,
Yeah.
I'll go and indicate it. Whatever, I guess, but I'm gonna actually go back to this or slide further down.
Okay.
It'll be a little ways back. It's like the 7th slide. It's actually where I'd stopped writing. Sort of the things that were on my mind this morning. Rain? Yeah, rain was on my mind. Obvious thing to be on your mind. It's, while we come means like time to time, kind of like on and off. While we come and go. While we come. Gmoen zaget shoulders Gmoen zaget shoulders.
Is it raining where you are today?
Close. Is it raining?
Right here?
Zagic. Outside?
Oh.
Right now. What is your feet? So Gamo, you're right about the question. Gamo in May. So is it raining? Zagic. Outside. What is your feet? Not that it rains inside. I mean, I thought about that after I wrote that. It's raining inside. You got some real serious problems. Got some roofing issues there. Inside. But sometimes it's silly the way that we think. Wawika, we come and go. So from time to time or intermittently, we come on, it's gonna rain today. Yeah, so kind of intermittent, on and off. Wawika, we come on, go. And I always felt like that when I put a we in front of it because it always sounds more like a K to me. Like normally it's like Gamoan, but then when you put that we on front, it just sounds like weak Gamoan. And
Yeah.
you can't really make that G as much. Weak. You don't say like we Gamoan. So I just always put a K there, we Gamoan. Otherwise, I think people will say we Gamoan.
Yeah.
I was saying something yesterday. I remember I was listening to. This might not be with us. Let's see. Somebody came in here real quick for us. Yeah, we got one person with us. Oh no, it's me. Just kidding. But we're sharing a word for Kind of like, oh, I remember it was something about ant, like an ant. And they were saying, what they put was, uh, the way they pronounced it was like wind ganos or something like that or something. And I was like, it's like one. But they had wind ganos or something like that. And I was like, it's one ganos. And they also had it plural, where instead of they just had like ant, it was actually ants. But I guess in English, do we say ants? Yeah, I get ants go marching on.
Yeah.
Ants. Yeah. But yeah, so just two-part kind of mess up, I guess. But Zane getting on and going again, it's hard sometimes. Hey, they already shut the door. I was like, man, he is gonna get too loud already. Did you shut the door on my bye? And I was like, dang. They're like, we do not want to hear any of this garbage spraying out this guy's mouth.
So I guess you're not singing then, huh?
Doesn't look that way. I wanted to. Like that was my plan. My plan was just to sing today too. I mean, the bad thing about that is I don't know if I kind of put that information out there, and so if somebody shows up, I guess I am singing, but it'll be for me and whoever shows up because Dwight's probably not gonna be here. Paul's not gonna be here. So
Yeah.
they're my main singing guys, but there's been a couple of people that had some interest. So I guess if they show up, I'll sing. Ordered a new drum too. I was getting a new drum from Crazy Crow. I was being lazy about it. I thought about rehiding the one I got, but it's gonna take a while. Like it's starting to break. And all
Yeah.
drums, they have a shelf life, all of them. And eventually you have to decide it's time to rehide them. I've redid one before, but I was like, man, I don't want to rehide a drum right now. And they had ones that were completely made, and I was like, shit, I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna buy a drum.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I'm like, and it's a big one too. The one I have is like about a 24. This one's like a 28, so it should be even
Oh,
larger.
nice,
So I can handle some more people if they want to join with us. But yeah, it's starting. A couple of the pieces have come off on the one, and I know that what'll end up happening is it'll just break at the most inopportune time. Like, oh, it's
Yeah,
not
well,
the
you have to do
festival. Now I'm gonna do hand games. No, I don't have a drum. So I was like, oh, I better go ahead and prepare. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I tell ya, nose covering.
My nose is cold. It's so cold at my house.
Yeah, nah. Yabwam get shorter. Bagaji. No, Nyanom Tane Shutch Noak, the Buggin Zagach. It's maybe like 59 outside here. It's warm a little bit. Bagaji. Hey, Bojo. Hey, I'm glad you came. See, that's what I was talking about. Got somebody come and wants the drum. That's good. When it now. Okay, so we're gonna do a little language first, and then we'll do some going here. Glad you could come. You live right here in Shawnee, right?
Yeah, my folks live in Shawnee. My grandparents live in Tacoma.
Oh, okay, right around the way. That's good. That's good. Glad to see you, man. We had a little bit of a off time there for a little bit. We had the spring break had kind of come up, and people were, I guess, had like watching their grandkids doing this and that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like that time kind of catches up. And,
I heard that the class is coming to ECU in the fall. I plan on
nice.
enrolling in that.
Nice. What is this your freshman year or
No,
sophomore?
I'm a junior. Oh, I got my associates at Seminole. So
Nice. My wife went to Seminole, yeah. That's cool. Okay. I'm gonna try to make this work here. Don't worry, I'm gonna see what I can do here. Make this visible for you as well. That's good or not.
Looks good.
Okay. So today I was just going to talk a little bit about some outdoor words. Zagich means outside. Zagich kedwinen. Outdoor words. Zagich kedwinen. So we've got some basics here like Jesus. Jesus is the sun, Jesus. And the way that we say the moon, we just say debuk Jesus, which literally is like the night sun. But Jesus, Jesus is the sun. Gijuk is the sky or the day. Gijuk. Zibe, Zibe is a river. Zibe. Zibiwis is a creek. Zibiwis. Bes, Bes is a lake. Bes. And feel free to ask any questions as we go along, or if you got other words you want to know, I'm happy to share those with you. Or
Is on the geese get, isn't there like a geese get?
yes, there's also Gijget, like Mino Gijget, like
Yeah.
a nice day. Yeah, that's just a variation of this word.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Gijek. But yeah, you can say, and in fact, this same word is the same part is used when you're talking about like Monday. Goat Gijek the first day, Nish Gijek the second day.
Okay.
Optagijek is Wednesday. It's kind of like halfway through the day. But yeah, like Gijek. But it also is the word we use when we're talking about like the sky itself. So if I was like, hey, Nukshe Gijek, look in the sky. Nukshe Gijek.
And that's mainly with the K, right? For the sky?
Not always. That's
Always.
I'll just kind of have to leave that. We'll get to that eventually, but yeah, it can change on you on there. Zibe, Zibe is a river. Zibe. In fact, you have a lot of words in English that we have that word in that people don't even realize have Zibe in it, like Mississippi, Mississippi. That means like a large river, a great river, but it's in more Ojibwe. But Zibe is that river. ZB West is a creek. ZB West is a creek. And the name of our drum group is Single ZB West, Squirrel Creek, Single ZB West, which is the little creek that runs right here by the grounds over here. Runs right by the powwow grounds, Single ZB West. Hey, I see Kevin with us. Bonjour, Kevin. You gonna hang around a little bit? We're gonna do a little drumming, maybe. We might just keep it live and let you hear a little drumming with us if you want.
Hey,
So if you're available. So Mbes is that lake. Mbes. That M on the front it's called like a semi-silent. It exists on some other words that have like there's an M and like a B. Bish is the word for water. Bish has an M on it too, and you don't really hear it real loud. It's like you hit the B louder, so it's like Mbes, Mbes. But this sounds just like a bus, like a school bus. Bus, lake, bus. Nukshe o Jesus. Nukshe o Jesus. Nukshe is just an expression to mean look at. It's not a verb. You can actually use this for all kinds of. You could be like nukshe e, look at that, or nukshe o, look at that person, or nukshe kanok, look at those eagles. Nukshe o dab, nukshe dabian, look at the card. Just look at nukshe. In fact, my kids, we always play this game here in Shawnee because they have all these horse statues everywhere around town. And so we always play this little game. We're like, Nukshe Nektosha, look at the horse. So whenever they see one of those statues, they'll just say, oh, Nukshe o Nektosha. And I'll go, oh, Giwab Ma o Nektosha. I saw the horse.
So you can use it as like a command, so it's
Yeah.
just a line.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a weird thing. It's not a verb. It's not it's almost like an expression. But yeah, you can use it kind of like a command, just like look at. You can also use it like kind of like get somebody's attention, like nukshe, like look, nukshe, like you're getting somebody's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can use it. It's a weird pseudo word. I mean, I don't know really how to explain it. It's not a verb. It's like everything that fits in those weird categories, we always call them like particles. I like to consider particles things that we just don't know how to explain exactly.
Right.
Or just
Right, I
they
get
fit a
you.
lot of categories. Oh, there's particles. But nukshe, yeah, you can use it like that. You're like, yeah, nukshe, look at that. Nukshe o Jesus. Look at the sun. Mano wab managwaze o Jesus. Epich mokset. Mano wab managwaze o Jesus. Epich mokset. So that mano, we know what that means, right? Good. Wab managwaze. What's that?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful, or literally it looks good. It's beautiful. So mano, and then that wab has to do with the way something looks. wab managwaze, the way that you see it. So it looks beautiful. It's beautiful. So Nuksheo Jesus, Mano wab managwaze. Beautiful, oh Jesus. That sun, epich means while, mokset, while it's emerging or while it's rising. So the sunrise. So the sunrise is beautiful. Nuksheo Jesus, Mano wab managwaze, Jesus, epich mokset. So the sun is beautiful when it's rising up, coming up. Or you go the other direction when it's going down, whatever.
Oh, which one is rising?
The mokset. And the verb here is mokze. So it's M-O-K-Z-E. And the T, when he or she is rising, because it's something animate that's rising, something living. In fact, since you're new with the language, I have one person in here. I know you guys aren't seeing who's in here that hasn't been here before. Might want to go over a couple things just to make sure you understand. You know what animacy and inanimacy is?
Animate would be referring to things that are alive.
Mhm.
Inanimate objects, things.
Okay, exactly. What other things could be animate, Stormy?
And spiritual things.
Spiritual things could also be animate. And then occasionally there's things in nature that are considered animate that maybe in English we wouldn't consider animate. And certain foods are kind of hard sometimes. Certain foods are like corn is animate, beans are animate, but like
What about pumpkin?
pumpkin's inanimate. Yeah. So some of the foods are real kind of hard to understand. Now, why does it matter? Why does animacy and inanimacy matter? I mean, who cares if things are animate or inanimate?
important. It signifies with something spiritual and or it kind of signifies its depth of the language.
Yeah. What
And
about
also grammatically it's important for
Yeah.
like organization and such.
grammatically? It's important. It's important because there's different verbs that you use depending on if something's animate or inanimate. So, for example, if I say like I'm eating potatoes, it's a little different word than if I say I'm eating carrots. They're inanimate. It changes. And then there's things like there's basic verbs, which are called these VAI verbs. They're called animate and transit. And these are verbs that just don't affect anybody else. Like I'm sitting, I'm eating, I'm resting. You're not talking about anybody else. You're not talking about anything. You're just like, I'm doing it. But it's not really affecting anybody else. And then there's another type of verb called an II verb. And these are inanimate transitive verbs. These are things that are a lot of times adjectives in English, like, and they're like, it's round, they're round. It's black, they're black. A lot of things that we use as describing words in English are actually verbs in Potawatomi. Like, it is round, they're round, it is black, they're black. It's smooth, they're smooth. It's big, they're big. But they're actually verbs in Potawatomi. And there's these BII verbs. Third type of verb we have are called VTI verbs. Anybody know what a VTI verb is? Transitive and inanimate. Okay, you do more. You know a lot more than I was thinking. I wasn't sure if you remembered all that stuff. So good. I just didn't want you to be completely not know what's going on. So that's good. So VTI is transitive inanimate verbs. So that's like I interact with something. So like I touch the chair, I pick up the table, I'm drinking this pop. You know, once you're interacting, you're with something that's inanimate. So I'm doing something. I'm picking it up. I'm throwing the ball. The final type of verbs are VTA verbs, and they tend to be the more complicated conjugationally verbs. What is a VTA? Anybody out there know what those are?
Transitive animate.
Okay, can you give me an example of one? You don't have to give it a Potawatomi, just you can just give me an example of one.
I look at him.
Okay, I see him or I look at him. So yeah, I hear him. I'm talking to him. He's talking to me. They're talking to us. So it's two animate people interacting. Now, animate people though can also be an animate object. So like if I say like I put down tobacco, tobacco's animate, I would say I put down. Literally, I'm saying I placed down him or her. That tobacco is kind of what it literally would mean if you took it apart. So either you are doing something with something animate, or it's doing something with you. So like I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, they're talking to us. But there's a lot more different types. There's like 30-some different combinations. You know, we do it to them, they do it to us. But the basic verb, there's only like 7 main ones. So they're a little more complicated. But I just want to make sure that everybody knew those types of verbs real quick here. Okay. Nija jinkadaman e zb was. Nija jinkadaman e zb was. Nija jinkadaman e zb was. Anybody know what that is? Nija jinkadaman e zb was. The verb here is jinkadan. So the verb is a VTI verb. So somebody.
What is the name of that little creek?
Yeah, what do you call that creek? Nija jinkadaman e zb was. So what do you call that creek? Nija jinkadaman e zb was. What do you call that creek? Or what is that creek called? You know, Singo zb was jinkade. Singo zb was jinkade.
It is called Squirrel Creek.
It's called Squirrel Creek. Singo zb was jinkade. Now, jinkade is a VII verb. I'm about to show you all 3 types here, so it's kind of funny. I already brought that up. Here we go. Watch this. So here is, excuse me, all 4 types of verbs with a common verb. Jinkade or jinkaze. This is calling it something. It's called something. We all know jinkazo, he or she is called. Excuse me. When we say I'm called, I say nadezhnikas, but this verb changes. But jinkazo is the he or she form of he or she is called something. So like Reagan jinkazo, she's called Reagan, or Cole jinkazo, he's called Cole, or Lori jinkazo. Ah, there my E. That's ugly. Okay. Change color. So jinkazo, he or she is called, and this is our VAI verb, our basic verb. Then you got jinkade, it's called. So like it's called, you know, dopwin jinkade, it's called a table, or jeeptabwin jinkade, it's called a jeeptabwin, or wishkababo jinkade, it's called a pop. Jinkade, it's called. Now then you got jinkadan, is someone calling it something. So like that's that verb earlier where I said nije jinkadaman ezb west. What do you call it? That creek. And that comes from this jinkadan. So it's in the conjunct. So this is a VTI verb. And then you got jinkana, to call someone something. So like I call him Bob, or I call him Charles, for example. Instead of, you know, somebody goes by a different name, like, oh, I call him whatever, you know. I call him Kionadzit, the crazy one, or whatever. Kewezi, old man. Or maybe Misho, if you call him Misho, maybe kind of a term. I was actually originally, but he's not here to pick on, so I don't want to say that. But yeah, that's what I was getting at. But yeah, I mean, because people go by different things. My dad's name is Robert, but down home where he's from, they call him Bobby. I've never called him Bobby or anything. But when people do that, I'm just like, okay, whatever, Bobby. So you can say he's called that or whatever. Or it might be something you could also add to the front of this, like Nishnabe. Like you could say Nishnabe Jinkadan. I call that in Indian. So I could say like Nishnabe Jinkadan. Jeeptabun. I call that in Indian a jeeptabun, a chair, or whatever you call something that way in Indian, Nishnabe. So this is one sequence of all these different types of verbs with one that's pretty close, because there's some of these verbs that they just completely change, like they're completely different words. Because like eat is wisna in this one, and then down here it's mijin, down here it's moa. It just completely changes, but at least this one is pretty close. You know, I mean, you've got some little things here. You got it goes to kazo, to kade, to kada, to kana. At least it's pretty close. You know? But this is kind of what you have to kind of juggle a little bit in your mind with Potawatomi. But that's why understanding how to conjugate in Potawatomi is so important. And I harp on it like all the time. Sometimes I feel like I'm just beating people with this, like conjugate. But I'm telling you, if you figure out these conjugations and you can understand these verbs, you really, that's the know what you'd call, that's the end result. That's what you really want to be able to do, because then you can function in the language really well. Nukshe okano, nipija okano. These are just some random thoughts I was having this morning, so these don't really connect back to anything in particular. There's just a little bit of language. I want to see if you guys can kind of figure out a little bit what's going on here. Nukshe okano, nipija okano. So nukshe okano, what are we saying there? Look at that eagle. Nipija okano. Nipija, what's that nipija?
Where?
Where? This is where. So where is that eagle? Nipija okano. Now there's two ways I could have done this. I could have been a little more formal. I could have said Nipija yet okano, like where in location is he? This is a little bit just where that eagle. A little bit slangier, but it's simpler sometimes just to be like Nipija okano. And this is how I'd probably end up saying it because I'm lazy. Like it's one of those things where you can say it out real formalized sometimes, like I will go to the store, or I can be like, yes, I'm good. This is Nipija okano. Where is that eagle? Nipija okano. Gijgok bamashi okano. Gijgok bamashi okano. Now this is kind of like Gijuk, which was sky, but this has something else added to it to indicate a little something different about it. And then bamashi okano. Any thoughts on that? What? How'd they say? I know, just like it's like they're like, there's a question. No. Gijgo bamashi okano. What is that? Anybody? Take a guess. We know what kano is. We all kind of figured that. That's our ego, right?
Flying in the sky?
Flying in the sky. Yeah, he's flying or he's kind of soaring there in the sky. Bamashi means to fly, but literally it's kind of like almost like soaring. It is flying, but it's like kind of like soaring on the wind. Bamashi.
So if it's soaring, then is there a better word for flying?
There's 1,000 words for flying. There's 1,000 words for walking.
I get you.
So, I mean, you can say bamise, for example. Bamise is one you can use for just flying. Bamise. Would you? Oh, I thought you said numsa, like to fly away. There's one for like flying down. Yeah, you can get real descriptive, but I use bamashi a lot. I like bamashi, even though theoretically it is kind of just soaring. I would say I use bamashi more often. The other one that I might use is bamise. That's what I said. That's also known as a fly, bamise. But you know, like you said, I mean, like I said, you can always get very, very specific in our language into the way they're doing it. They're going backwards, they're going sideways. I mean, you can always get very, very specific in the language. Probably not just like bam, like, oh, there goes a sideways flying bird. Like, you birds be like, oh, there's a bird flying there. But Gijgok is in the sky. Gijgok, so in the sky, bamashi okano. So the eagle, he is flying or soaring there in the sky. Gijgok bamashi okano.
Can you break down like, okay, so like Gok got added onto like Gishik, you know, so we dropped the E and changed it because it's a place or it's
Oh,
not.
Hold on, let me. Whoa, somebody you better mute your mic there. I don't know, something's going crazy. Okay, so this is a lot. This is like that locative. You remember how we had like
So,
Gow Wow Gamuk?
so I saw that you called and I went to look for a voicemail.
I can hear you, Deborah. I think that's you, Deborah.
Justin, I can do it from your computer.
How do I do it here?
I'll show you.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see it.
Okay. So what do you do?
I'm out.
I didn't get a chance to look at the books yet. I'm gonna just,
Dow Wow Gamuk.
oh,
Dow Wow Gamuk is like a store. Okay.
well,
Dow Wow Gum Gulp. It's
do that later. So, but thank you for sending them. Now I'm supposed to send it.
But
yeah, no, it's weird.
it's covering that.
I know it's weird. I don't know why it's not letting me.
Bye.
Helen?
Hey, Deborah, we can hear you. Are you out there? I don't know how to throw you out or to mute you here. I'm trying to mute you really, but we can hear you, Deborah. It's me. It's from up above here. Okay. Hey, you got it. Good deal. Miigwech, Deborah. That's okay. I was trying to just mute you, but I didn't know how real quick. So Dowwow Gamuk. Dowwow Gamuk is like the store, but if you say Dowwow Gumgok, it's to the store. And that's where that gok comes in. Dowwow. That's like to the store. That's kind of what this gok is doing. It's at or in the sky. But some of these can change a little bit. I know it went from Gijuk to Gij Gok. And then there's Gij Get. I don't want to go into it too much other than just to say that the gok right here is kind of like in the sky.
Right.
It's the part of it.
So what would you call that? Would you call it like a locative?
Locative, yeah. Like a locative.
Oh, locative.
Yeah. Locative, and that's another word to say it. Locative, locative. Uh-huh. Yeah. Chonwab Masi Okano. Chonwab Masi Okano.
No, I don't see the eagle.
No, I do not see the eagle. Yes. Cho. No. What else? How else do you know it's a negative statement here? How do you know this from
Cho.
Cho's at the beginning? What else is on here that might also help?
C's in the middle.
And then that C right here. Yep. So the cho and the C are telling you that it's a negative statement. So chon wab ma si okano. No, I don't see the eagle. Chon wab ma si okano. Shpamakki mtukok ago kano. Shpamakki mtukok ago kano.
The one in the trees.
Yeah. So tukok, trees.
What is that?
Shpamak. What's that? Shpamak.
Rise.
Close. Above.
Above.
Above those trees. Ago
Way
kano.
over there.
It's way over there. That eagle way over there above those trees. Yeah. So shpamak above. Shpamak gi tukok. Those trees. Ago. He is way over there. That eagle at kano. So shpamak tukok ago kano. That eagle way over there above those trees. Because you can't see him, I'm trying to help you see where he's at. Shpamakim tukok agokano. Or you could just say shpumsagok, somewhere above. Shpumsagok. That is kind of weird. It wouldn't let me do that. I wonder if that's something that it wouldn't let me just push the button.
Mhm.
Gekpi minokme yawen. Gekpi. It is finally spring. Gekpi minokme yawen. It's finally spring. Gekpi means finally. Minokme is the word for spring. Yawen, it is minokme. Okay, good. Minokme is the kind
I'm teaching the kids that.
comes
so
up
this
like
week,
that.
actually.
Minokme. Okay. Gaga shawi majishka noni waskonnadoyen. Gaga shawi majishka noni waskonnadoyen. Anybody know what that might be? Gaga shawi majishka noni waskonnadoyen. Right.
Yeah.
If you, what's that?
But it's been dry.
Isn't it just in soon something with the flowers?
Yes. Yes.
Leaving or coming?
Start growing.
Growing, yeah.
Yeah. Soon the flowers, they're going to be growing. Gaga shawi majishka is the verb to like for something to grow. So like majishka no, they're going to grow because flower is actually inanimate. Ni waskonnadoyen, those flowers. So they're going to start growing soon, those flowers. Well, they've kind of already started. But anyway.
Okay, so like gagashi, what is that?
Gaga is soon.
Soon?
Gaga is just the soon part. The sh is like an emphatic. It just kind of adds a little bit of oomph. It's hard to explain emphatics because you see them like sa, shana, sh. They do serve kind of a purpose of sorts, but they're just kind of like a lot of times it's almost like in conversation where like in English you might be like, hey, I'm gonna go to the store, then I'm gonna, and it just kind of helps the flow of the sentence, kind of helps it flowing, but it can also add a little oomph to it. they just kind of naturally kind of appear. Just, I don't know. They're hard to tell you when to use, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. They just kind of make things flow a little bit. Like I could have just said Gaga we Majishka no ni Waskondoya, and it still makes perfect sense. They just kind of help it smoothly. Gaga we Majishka no ni Waskondoya. So soon they're going to start growing those flowers. Waskondoya. And you may not be able to read my handwriting. I apologize. Waskonnedoye. I started running out of room. But again, flower is inanimate, but tree is animate. And I think what that is, I often hypothesize some of these inanimate things like flowers, maybe because it's not, you're not talking about that full, you're not talking about that whole life force. You're not talking about a particular flower. You're talking about like the flower itself on that plant. So it's like a part of that plant, but you're not talking about the whole plant. And that's something I've often kind of hypothesized that like, because like meat, when you kill an animal, you know, if you kill a deer, that deer still has a spirit about it. It's still considered animate. But once you start cutting that deer up and like, kind of like this is the hind quarter, this is the whatever section, this is the chest, you know, and you've cut it up and you've kind of broke it apart. Well, now it's succiwias or deer meat, and it's inanimate because it's no longer kind of connected to its life force. But right after you kill it, you know, people will still take some same ounce of tobacco and they'll thank the spirit of that animal for giving its life so that we can have life. So it's like that. Wechka sinyak and nagadam get mina bemajawak. This is kind of a hard one, but Wechka sinyak and nagadam get mina bemajawak. West Kasenyak is a direction.
North, and what, north?
Yep, north.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this here is a preverb and it means it's starting to become or it's becoming. Starting to happen, basically. Nugadam get mina bemajawak.
Is Mamichawak like flowering?
No, but this bemajawak is like it comes from this verb. Sorry. I don't know.
Oh,
Hold on a
Bemaj-
second, folks. Let me answer this real quick. I think it's a telemarketer. Here we go. Bojo? John Kindes in what a Northwind. I always answer my telemarketers in Potawatomi. I hope they put me on a list that I can't speak English. They'll stop calling me. I don't know if it'll ever work. But okay, this bemajawak at the end, it comes from bemajawin. Bemajawin. That jawin at the end indicates water. Hey, there you go. What I'm saying is, okay, so Wech Kasinyak in the north, it's starting to melt and the rivers are starting to flow. Meaning bemajawak. So it comes from bemajawin. That bemay means it kind of goes about, but that jawin is indicating that flow of water, that jawin. So like mokjawin is like water bubbling up. Bemajawin, water flowing by. Gishkjawin is like a waterfall. It kind of cuts off. Gishkjawin, it drops. That's what that bemajawin means, bemajawak. It's just the conjunct form of that word. But Nugadam get means it's melting. So it's so up north, it's starting to melt and the rivers are starting to flow. Wechkasinyak and Nugadam get mina bemajawak. Though some people say, there's still quite a bit of snow probably up there still. I mean, I remember one time living in Escanaba, it was snowing in May. So. Senegit Gishpin Edayin Waseguan Wechkasinyak. It's hard sometimes if you live way up north. On it Bamajuk Zispak Tolwuk. On it Bamajuk Zispak Tolwuk.
Safe.
Now here I could have said Zispak Tol. I'm missing a letter. That's my problem. Time out. Yeah, nah. I put my letter in here. My letter's missing. Zispak Tol. Yeah. On it Bamajuk Zispak Tol Gek.
Why does the Nazi joke look so familiar?
It probably does look familiar, yeah.
You see it?
Zispak Tol Ke. Zispak Tol Ke. That's ugly.
Sugar in the box?
Sugaring, yeah. Not box, but zispaktoke is the act of sugar.
Oh, yeah.
So some people, is it some people?
Yeah, some people are doing maple syrup or they're sugaring right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
They're in the sugar book. Zispaktoke is the verb to do maple sugar or to make sugar. And then, so some people are doing maple right now, they're making maple syrup.
So
right now.
on that's like some.
On it is some. The Madzijuk are people.
So, Justin, would you put your, instead of putting like Zajesh Toyan, isn't that for like making, that's interpreted in that?
Well, what,
Like a verb.
that's a great question. This is a very specific verb for doing that though. See
Okay.
right here, if I take off this K, you
Yes,
put a KE on the end of some of these words, it's like doing something with that thing, real specific. For example, I could say like minke, to like go pick blueberries.
okay.
Or if I said, if I was making tables, I could say dopwin cat. Making tables, dopwin cat. So it's, but the Z-spot, that part there is the sugar itself. So you're doing something with sugar, you're making sugar. But yeah, you could use jeton too to say make it. You could say, I'm gonna make some sugar, Z-spot nui jeton. I'm gonna make sugar. Makes perfect sense that way too, but this is just a specific word for making sugar.
Oh,
And it's the word that we use, we're talking about April too. April is usually the maple syrup making month, so. Zispaktoke gizes. Zispaktoke gizes. At least it is up north. We can't do any maple syrup down here. It's kind of sad. I really enjoy maple syrup. And I enjoy the granulated sugars too.
That would be cool to go up there. like,
It would
as
be
a
nice to
team
go up there
and do that,
sometime.
Yeah,
like,
as a
some
field
winter
trip
or something.
I
tomorrow.
would, tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, let's go, right now. I'll drive.
I wouldn't mind going up for some of their maple camps sometime. I've had a chance to be around a little bit of it, but not near as much as I would like to. I suppose up in your neck of the woods in Illinois, they could probably do some. They do any maple syruping up that way?
hey, and they also make like they'll get walnut syrup. And I thought I kind of, frowned upon that, but when they mix maple and walnut syrup, it's it's good because it has that walnut flavor. I'll bring you some to festival.
No, that'd be good. Yeah, make watch. I don't think I've ever had walnut syrup. That's interesting. But they say there's other trees you can tap. Somebody was saying that people tap. What is the other tree? It's just that the conditions aren't perfect down here in Oklahoma because what you need usually for those trees to run is you need it to be like really, really intensely cold, like deep freeze for a very long period of time, and then a real abrupt warm up. Problem with Oklahoma is it can have 70-degree weather in winter, like in December. So you don't have those long, long stretches of just intense cold. Basically, it gets cold up north and it stays cold for long periods of time, and then it just boom, it abruptly warms up, and that gets those trees running. But that's kind of one of the reasons we don't have those ideal conditions down here. Okay. Oh, you still working on that?
No, I'm rewriting it all. Like,
Oh.
work. No, you can go and go to the next one. I already have it written down. I just thought it was new for some reason.
That's okay. That's okay. So we got our wascon You can actually read this one a little better. Wascon that's your flower. Wascon Wascon yin, flowers plural. This yen is your plural, but it's something inanimate. Get to get is the verb to plant. Get to get. But then you got get to get on to plant something. Get to gana to plant something animate. So just your general plan is get to get. And then get to get on, plant something, get to gana, plant something animate. So if you want to say like a garden, you say get to gana. Well, I mean, just place things grow, get to gana. Place you plant, basically. If you want to be specific, just place you plant stuff. Get to gana. You could say like a clearing, I guess. I mean, if you're talking about like, this is the one I see people always use. I mean, some people will say like a little garden, it's like get to gone. You can say like a clearing, but I mean, that wouldn't really be, you could say like Pesqua Kiwan, like, Pesquaquiwan, clearing. And this one's a funny word because pesk has to do with the same word we use for like pescadebay. Somebody's balding because you have a clearing on your head, I guess. Pescadebay. I always joke about that. Pescadebay. Yeah, but Pesquaquiwan, a clearing or like an opening, like a maybe like a meadow, maybe could be a meadow. You could also call a meadow like a Mashko-Kiwan, like a grassy area. Mashko-Kiwan from Mishkos. That's the word for grass. But get to plant, get to down to plant something, get to gana, plant something animate. Nemetsana gishpenwaja, get to gayan or babon, bagaji nida yakwes and moshtoyan nomye. Nemetsana gishpenwaja, get to yan or babon, bagaji nida yakwes and moshtoyan nomye.
It's like, I don't know if the garden, something, Babone Snow, right? Or Oda, this, okay, my garden, is it my garden?
You're on the right track. You're getting all the parts here, but babone, it can mean winter, but can also mean like a year.
A new year, oh yeah, or year, oh yeah, she Babone, yeah.
My garden this year.
I don't know if I'm gonna grow a garden this year. I'm gonna plant a garden this year. Yeah, you got all the parts. You got all the parts though. The Metsana, I don't know. Gishpan, if Waja, the future, get to gay, plant, Yan, I this year. So I don't know if I'm gonna plant a garden this year. Bagaji, Nidi Yakwes, and Moshtoyan Nomye. Bagaji, Nidi Yakwes, and Moshtoyan Nomye. I'm a little tired feeling right now. I'm a little tired right now. Just the thought of it, and more stone is to feel it.
What's that last word?
Nomye, nomye,
Nomia.
nomye.
You wrote it fine. I'm just.
Well, it started to disappear. I don't know if I hit it somehow on my graph.
I haven't seen that.
Nomye, like at this time, like right now. Another way to say like, it's not like Odajopi, it's more like lately. It's kind of like,
Oh, okay. What's been happening?
like lately I've been
Yeah.
feeling a little tired lately. I don't know if I really want to plant a garden. Bagaji nidi yakwese moshtoyan nomye. Zam zichkewat panojeyak. My kids are doing too much stuff. I'm just like, too many projects, too much going on. Yeah. Gagasha megwa panojes ndadzit. Soon I'll have another one born in May. So just thinking, man, I really want to plant a garden this year. It's might just scratch the garden this year. So bagaji a little bit, nidya quest tired, emoshtoyan, I feel lately, nomye. I feel a little bit tired lately. And moshton is the verb to feel something. Moshton. Yeah. Oh, somebody's asking me a question. No, actually, that was just a. Okay, no questions. Okay, good deal. Got that? Okay.
Those accents or the lines like above the E.
Yeah, it's like an
How do you know when to use those?
like this one up here. It's just certain letters. Just they. Here, I'll show you here. Hold on. So your A always sounds like ah. Okay. The E though, with this little marks on, it's like ah. And you got the I always sounds like the double E sound like E. O sounds like oh no. And then the other E without a mark is a little more complicated. It can sound more like an I or an and it kind of depends. When a K follows, like in Gija, more of an sound when the K follows it. When an N follows that E, it's more of an it. So like single. Here that E is more of an it sound. So it's something you just kind of figure them out as you go with those. I mean, there's some people that have been doing the system more recently where they've been adding like a dot or 2 dots or a star. I don't even know, but I'm just joking. But they've added like a dot on one of them, a dot on another one. It'll help you maybe in the very beginning, but eventually it just starts to make sense almost. It's not worth the trouble of having like extra things and I've known systems where people will write and they'll come up with all kinds of wild ways of writing. They'll put like, I don't even want to do that for you, but there's like linguistical writing. They'll be like,
And then the two dots.
and then or they'll be like a B or an L that equals a B or a P, or, just crazy wild ways of writing that just. I try to keep it as simplistic as possible, and I've always found over the years that writing in this more Bob-A, Bebo type system has always been easier for most people to pick up, and it'll start to make more sense to E. But the E with it, that's the eh. So Wegwindek nida Gitagadan, Iljawaja, Zigdaman Mina, Monshquayan. So Wegwindek nida Gitagadan, Iljawaja, Zigdaman Mina, Monshquayan. So Wegwindek.
Whatever.
Whatever. Nitagitagadan.
I garden.
I plant, whatever I plant. So whatever I plant. Ilja. So then Waja Zigdaman Mina Monshquaya. Zigdaman.
The water.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to water and I'm gonna have to weed.
Weed.
So I'm just thinking it out, like, oh, whatever I plant, I'm gonna have to water, I'm gonna have to weed it. So monshque is the verb to weed, monshque. And then zigdan is like pouring water on zigdan. Zigdaman is in that form.
Sure. Then you need to add, if you don't want to weed, then it needs to be choke see.
That or it just goes wild. I mean, it needs something that'll survive all the elements, and then the Oklahoma heat as well.
The Kadon, the Gaetan,
Mhm.
is that specifically for inanimate? Is that what-
Yes. Yeah. Now here, because I didn't mention, I mean, I could have said. I
So
could've-
it's like you only put it as specifically for
Yeah,
animals
yeah. If I was
specific-
specifically talking about something animate, I would
Okay.
change it to that.
I just-
I just honestly, and this is probably a good word of thought. A lot of times it's easier just to think of it sometimes in that VTI form if you don't want to be real specific. And then when you really want to point that it's animate, you switch over to that.
we're talking
It's-
about specific
Yeah,
animals.
it's easier to do it that way. In fact, another thing that a trick that I picked up several years ago was if you're talking about an inanimate and animate thing at the same time. Long time ago, when I first got going with the language, I used to think, well, you're gonna have to change verbs. So if I said like I'm cooking potatoes and I'm cooking carrots, let's say. So am I gonna have to then say I'm cooking something animate and I'm cooking something
Yeah,
inanimate?
I'm curious about that.
No. Whichever one you use first, you can trump the next one. Trump, that's a strange word these days. You trump the next one, yeah. But it's like, so like it makes better sense for you, or it's simpler for you if you pick the inanimate food first. So like if you're cooking carrots and you're cooking potatoes, you might as well mention the carrots first and then use the inanimate, the TI verb, which will be easier to use than the VTA verb.
Very visual active.
Yeah, same thing with food too. Like when you're talking about eating, if you're eating things where maybe you're eating corn, which is animate and dominant, but you're also eating something inanimate, like I don't know, blueberries or pie or whatever you're eating with it. It's easier if you mention that inanimate object first, and then you can say eat. You can keep it in inanimate. It's a little trick. Like I said, I didn't know that when I first started, and I was like, I used to think that I had to do like I am eating it, blueberries, and then I am eating it, corn, like separately, because yeah. So it's a little bit of a trick there. Ket namjanan the madagwindan shkut medium. Ket namjanan the madagwindan shkut medium.
Legion?
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
you've heard shkut, I bet.
I heard, but I know what they both mean, but I've never heard that.
Think about it. Shkut doesn't just mean new.
It doesn't?
It can also mean young, it can mean fresh.
I really like to eat fresh food.
I really like fresh food. Yeah. I thought about saying fresh vegetables, but vegetables is such a big word. I was like, nah. So
I
shkut,
was like, new food, I was
fresh
thinking about.
food.
But yeah, that, I mean, that makes
Yeah.
sense, yeah.
Fresh food or new food. Yeah. But sometimes, I mean, you don't think about the different ways that you can use some of those words, you know?
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm glad.
Kiet nam jana namadagwandan shkut medium. I really like to eat fresh food. Kiet nam means really, that shana is one of those emphatic shana. Namadagwandan, I like it. Shka, new or fresh, medium food. I really like fresh food. Nijan suk mina nidikwayom nagi ndo wabdaman on it. Wabdo yeyin. Monon na dao jinkade. Nijan suk mina nidikwayom nagi ndo wabdaman on it. Wabdo ye. Wabdo. Yeah, wabdo ye. So Nijan suk, my kids, Mina, Nidiquam, and my wife, Nagi do wabdaman on it, wabdo ye Minon da, Minon na dao jinkade. I'll say that word very often.
I did Nikki, Nadal. Got it.
You're on the right track. So, but what's that ndo? You're trying to see it. You're searching for it, kind of like. So my children and my wife, we, not you, we were searching for, looking to see some mushrooms. We went looking for mushrooms. Wabdoyeyin. Mononadao jinkade. Morel mushroom, it's called. I never say this word, morel.
Okay, so Nagi, Nawab, Min, what is exactly?
So this
what
is-
just that?
This part here is, the wabdan by itself is to see.
See, yeah.
And do means you're trying to see, so you're trying to find, you're looking for, you're trying to locate. So that's what that do, you're trying to find. So we tried to find some mushrooms. That's what that do wabdan meant. So wabdan is the verb to see it. Then when you put the do on, you're trying to see it, you're searching for it.
Okay, so the Wapdo, y'all get.
This is mushrooms, plural.
Okay, gotcha.
And this is just your generic type mushrooms. And then this one, mononadao, is a morel mushroom. I never say that word.
How do you say
Wabdoyeyin, does that sound wrong? Or is it wabdoke?
And then what's getting called a?
Okay, then I did. Okay, I made a typo. Wabdoke is what it should be. You're right, because I was sitting there thinking that to myself.
Oh my gosh.
I was sitting there thinking, something about that didn't seem right, and I almost said K, wabdoke.
Because that.
Yeah,
that works in my
wabdoke.
book.
Yeah, it's gotta be wabdoke. Yeah, I was sitting there thinking that there's something wrong about that. And then I was like, I almost said
I
wabdoke.
was scared I did something wrong in my book.
No, wabdoke, yeah, that's right.
Alright, cool.
Typo on my fault, or mental, whatever you call
Right, right.
it. Yeah, wabdoke. Mushroom, plural. But the yin is one way to pluralize it. Wabdoke. Kiet nam janan namadagwan dan shkut mijin, nijan suk mina nidikwayo nakin do wabdaman, anad wabdokeyin, mononado dao, mononadao jinkade, morel mushroom. Yeah,
Called a?
jinka, it's called, because it's something, because it's inanimate mushroom. Metsana. Metsana gishpin jashpa madjit bxg bodewad mimwin kanomagewan. Nan gorgan getwajanam datso bamazdik shodamina tazon kakosak. The Metsana gishpin jashpa madjit bxg bodewad mimwin kanomagewan. Start there.
I don't know.
I don't know, yeah. I don't know.
Gishpin, we just had that.
Yeah, we said Gishpin. What's Gishpin? If? What's that? Jash.
Is it but?
No,
Oh.
that's very close though. That's just.
Yeah.
Nest
Just.
Yeah. Jash is bunches.
Okay.
Yeah. The word you said though is close to nest. You're thinking nest just.
That's
Yeah. But Jash, a bunch of people. BXG, Bodewad, Mimwin, Kinamai. Minukino? I heard you. I think you got Metsana Gishpin, Jash Pamadzik, BXG, Bodewad Mimwin Kinomagewin. So I don't know. What does it say? I don't know if a lot of people are gonna come to this Potawatomi language class. Tsana Gishpin Jashpamadzjik Biakshi Bodewad Mimwin Kinomagewin. Wasn't sure I was gonna have anybody here today because I had about 5 people tell me they weren't coming. So, but I got surprised. I got a few. I got a fresh face over here, and I got a couple other hangers around hangers around here that are hanging forth. That's good. And I got actually a few here online that I hadn't had in the past. So I haven't. I don't always get all of you guys online, so that's good. So it worked out. I always say the ones that are here are the ones that are supposed to be here. That's kind of the way it works out. The Metsana Gishpan Jashpamadzjik Biakshi Bodewat Mimwin Kinoma. So the Metsana would be the I don't know. And the Gishpan is the if. Jash just means a bunch. Madzjik, people. Biak, they are coming. There to, there here, there to. Bodewad Mimwin Kinomagwin, Potawatomi language class. Bodewad Mimwin Kinomagwin, Potawatomi language class. Non-Godigan Getchwajanam Datso Bamadzjuk Shoda Mina Tazom Kakosak. Non-Godigan Getchwajana Madatso Bamadzjuk Shoda Mina Tazom Kakosak. What is non-Godigan?
Is it sometimes?
Sometimes, yep.
Yeah.
Non-Godigan,
But it's-
Non-Godigan, sometimes.
Is it sometimes people here and online? Is that what the time, is that
That is what
computer?
we're talking about. You're right.
Yeah.
You got the gist of it. Now we just got to fill in the in between.
Shinna- And Shinna is just the emphasizer, right?
Yeah, let's just
Shina.
emphasize. Yep.
Yeah, Shinna, Madatso,
Yeah.
10.
10. Good.
Yeah. So sometimes we have 10 people here and online.
Yeah. That's it right there.
Very good.
Sometimes Getchwa just means it's like there's 10 people here and then online. So,
But Justin, that word there, yeah, Tazo
Tazom
is computer, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly right. So Tazom Kakos is the word for computer. When I put the EK, it's just on the computer.
On the computer, okay. But,
Yes.
but on, or online, or it's
Or
not?
I mean, it could be online, but in this sense, it literally means on the computer. I could
On the
have.
computer, okay.
Sometimes I joke around and I'll say Siba Bisa on the
Don't
line.
guess, Kevin Roberts.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
Hey, I gotta go. I just pulled a muscle in the brain.
Oh, you're on the zone now. You can't. Yeah, Godowi Geskis. Good job. Yeah. So non-Godigan, Getchwa, it's like 10 people are here and online. So sometimes it's like there's 10 people here and online as well. So good. Non-Godigan, Getchwa, Jana, Madatso, Bamajik people, Shoda, here, Mina, Tazom, Kakosa, and on the computer. Tazom, Kakos, computer, Tazom, Kakosa, on the computer.
Unrelated, but you can say like beyond Shoda, like come here, right?
Yeah, you can say,
Wanna say
or
without-
Biak Shoda, everybody come here, Biak Shoda. Yeah, beyond Shoda.
Everybody come here.
Yeah, Shoda, that's one place that's used a lot, or like he says it to somebody like, Jeep to Ben Shoda, sit here, Jeep to Ben Shoda, sit here. Mhm.
That's something good that you could say to the kids though.
Yeah, beyond
Like
Shoda,
it,
come here.
yeah.
Or Biak Shoda, everybody come here. Or Jeep to Buck Shoda, y'all sit there, sit here. Jeep to Buck Shoda, sit here. Or Jeep to Buck knock and sit on the road. I sit on the road a lot.
Yeah,
down
I say the cheap one. Or
Yeah.
what is it? Yeah, the cheap one. Not good. I think
Hmm.
something like that. The play mash or
Oh, you guys are hardcore right there.
something.
Getting the Chicas knockin or something like that. The play road. Oh, scan, I would just say knockin. I'm lazy. That's good though. Non Godigan Ntano Go Tanake Nishpamajak Webiak. Winpesh Ginabich and Tagendaman, Nesja, Emiquindaman, we Nake Bamadja, Eek Orajolpi, yeah, Egi Bamadja, Da, yeah, wow, there's a lot going on here. So let us see what we can figure out here. So non go it again. Had that a second ago. What was that? Sometimes.
Good memory.
To know. I know.
Time?
No, what's only
Only.
Hey, one.
one. What's a nake?
Person.
Or
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 niche?
two
Two
people.
people. Bamadja. We be at.
will come.
Will come. So maybe so sometimes only one or two people will come. When pesh ginabich and tagen demen nesja miquindaman. Let me see. Let me see the best place to break this here. Let's see. I think where I was trying to go with this here. Let's see here.
Is beyond,
Oh, I know what I'm trying to say here. When do it?
is beyond, sorry, is beyond to come here? And then
Yeah, beyond is the command that come here. Beyond. It comes from this verb here. The verb changes between be at and be on. Like in the first person, it's like be I come, be you come. But when you tell somebody, you say beyond. So you're telling one person come. If I told everybody, it's the biak, everybody. Biak, everybody come. Biak show.
Yeah. What's that baby?
Where?
Dog is sad, right? Or sadness, but then
Okay, that diminish is part of it's part of the word tog dom. So it's just- So what you saying tagadon? Tagadon, tagen, dimin. It just comes from it's a BTI verb. But that in don or nin don has to do with like thinking. So it's easy to so it's when pesh means it's easy, perhaps. When pesh can mean a couple things. It can mean easy, it can mean free, it can mean it's kind of a funky little word, but it's like easy. Yeah, it's in the context. Easy or free. It's not free here, but easy. When pesh ginabich. What's ginabich?
Maybe.
Maybe. The tagendaman. So for you to get sad, for you to think kind of almost more like depressed, like almost like sad in thought. So kind of like what's the word in English for that?
I mean, that's pretty sad.
Depressed. Yeah, I mean depressed or sad
Yeah,
basically.
no, that's true. Yeah,
Depressed or sad or bummed out, kind of like
that's the first I've seen that one.
bummed out maybe in the way that you're thinking. Bummed out, sad, but sad in thoughts. But and miquindaman, but I remember we nake bamadzijuk ik orajopi iai bamadzijuk da ye what. Now here's your nestja, Kevin.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But and miquindaman, but what is miquindan? It's a verb. Miquindan becomes miquindaman, but I remember. So someone,
Yeah, somewhere.
someone, or people. Now this one's interesting. Ik comes from the verb yeah, to be in a location, but in the they form it changes to ik. So they are here is what this means. Yeah, ik comes from the verb yeah, but in the they form it's ik. It's really weird like that. So it's like nida yeah, get a yeah, yeah, nida yaman, get a yaman, get a yam, ik. In the they form. It's just what it is. It changes to ik. So they are here, Otojopi, at this time. EIE.
Is that agreement or in agreement?
Agreement or, yeah, that's the way it is. Kind of like that,
That's the way it is, huh?
that's the way it is.
EIE was
Kind of like,
agreement, that's what
yeah,
it is.
it's like, that's the way it is, or that's it, that's the one, EIE, EIE. Gibamajduk da ye wat. So those people. What's da? Should. And then that ye, to be in a location, they. Now, you got to take this all in to get it all. This is a big little thought here, okay? When pesh ginabich and tagendaman nesha miquindaman wie anake bamajdik ik orujopi da ye wat. So it's easy maybe to get bummed out in the way you're thinking, but I remember that someone or the people that are here at this time, that's who's supposed to be here, that should be here at this time. That's kind of the way it is for those people that they're here. So what I mean by that is simply the ones that are supposed to be here are here. So when pesh, it's easy, gonna bitch, natagendaman, for you to get depressed or bummed out, but nescha amikwendaman. But I remember that that someone or the people that are here, the majik ik otojopi at this time, iai, that's the way, those are the ones, giba majik da yewat, that should be here or need to be here at this moment in time. So, like I said, it's one of those things where you realize that's an old saying where it's, you know, the ones that are supposed to be here will be here. So you have the class, they're going to be here. The ones that aren't going to be here just aren't going to be here. I mean, basically, don't worry about what you can't control. You know, the ones that are supposed to be here at this time, they're going to be here. Well, you saw some interesting words in this little. This is a good lesson. Wow.
I like that. I like that last.
Thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I was always told those kind of things, you know, like you have to just, and that's the same thing with like patience, you know, sometimes it's very difficult living in a quote unquote modern society to be patient, whether you're being patient with yourself, whether you're being patient with other people. You know, it's very easy to get discouraged, you know, if you've been teaching language for a long time, like I have, you know, you sit there and you sometimes wonder to yourself, and I'll have people tell me every once in a while, well, where is everybody? Where's everybody that wants to learn the language? Where's the thousands of people that should be, you know, trying to learn their language or whatever? You're like, well, the ones that are supposed to be are here, you know, and that's the way it goes. Yeah, give a magic die, yeah, what? That's okay. That's okay, because sometimes we don't know the bigger picture. We don't understand the plan at hand. We're just a participant in the way things roll out. And I always like to reflect back. I had this class several years ago where I always talk about it every once in a while, but maybe this class I'll be talking about in 10 years. I don't know. You know, just every once in a while you like to reflect back at some of your earlier classes. And I remember there were just 3 or 4 people. We started out real hot and heavy. We had like 50 people in class. People were geeked up. They were like, there are people everywhere. I was like, man, this is awesome. And then it just started going, kind of compacting down each week, and you're like, golly, okay, we started with 50 and now we got like 40. Okay, that's okay. Then we got 30. Okay, stuff happens. Then we got 20. And I was like, okay. And then it just like, it compacted down to like 4 people. And, you know, on face value, you know, you looked at those people, and nothing against those people. They were good people. But if you were to be a realist about it and you thought about it, you'd say, okay, well, I got 4 people left. Maybe I should just stop the class, restart it in a month or 2 months, or wait 6 months, start again, re-advertise it. Because the ones that I had in class at the time, I mean, 2 of them were elders. One of them was about 78 years old and had started with the language when he was 78. Another one was in their 70s as well. And again, nothing against that, but I realized that I didn't think in my mind, I thought, well, how much impact can somebody that's that old have in their own family? Because like their kids are grown up and they may or may not have a lot of interactions with their grandkids, you know, and how much impact do these 2 people have, you know? I I had no idea what I was talking about or what I was thinking. And then I had another young guy. He was just a young, kind of young kid. And I was like, he ain't really, what is he gonna do, you know? So what that young kid, he now teaches in the language program, Randy Selectin. He didn't know any of the language back then. He just took off the language. Those two elders that were part of that class, one of them went on to teach her own class for her family for like 10 years, for her family and her community. Ruby Withrow, brilliant, wonderful lady. The other older gentleman, he went on to get really good at the language. What he did was he showed people that no matter how old you are, he just started when he was in his 70s, and he got really good at the language. And he was an advocate. He would use the language everywhere he went. He'd go to the grocery store, bonjour. He'd go to the farm, bonjour, he'd just spit it out wherever he was at, and it was really encouraging. So you just never know. But the ones that are supposed to be at that moment in time, that's how it goes. So, hope. Ni pijes yayin.
You ain't doing nothing?
Chogago. Nemadagwin down Egypt, Moshuk. Mostly just like to sit around. So, okay. I hope so. But I guess the thing about it is sometimes we don't know the bigger plan of things, and you have to be patient with yourself and realize that as long as you keep at it, you'll get there. You will get there. It's definitely a doable thing. Nobody can tell you can't learn your language. There's no reason to ever think that way. Just keep after it and be patient with yourself. Manik b'majdik giwanik got nake nish kame got namagijak nuid magok nija bodewadmi ene yawit bodewadmi zichkawinin yon girajesh momanan nimedin gammon bagednan o sema yon mishkakiwin maljishnon bakan b'majdik. So Manik b'majdik. Got it? Many people, they're lost.
Lost. That's what that word is.
But it also
Don't
means
forget
wander. It means
that
wander as well.
chicken, that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can mean wander, or it can mean lost, depending, I guess, on how focused your wandering is. Maybe you know where you're at, but it's that Giwani is kind of like, but you're right, that Giwani also indicates like that prairie chicken. It's because it's wandering about.
Is that the same word?
Yeah,
Okay,
same.
okay.
But the verb, it's a verb too. So this is the verb to be lost. Giwani. So a lot of people are lost. Manik b'majdik giwani. A lot of people are lost. Got enake nish game got namagijak nuid magok nija bodewad mi ene yawet.
Is it one or two every, is Gamay every, one or two every once in a while?
Close. You're on the right track. This is week.
I can't see.
Sorry, I'm in front of it.
No, you're okay. What is that? Week?
Week. Yeah.
Oh, week. Yeah, week.
So one or two every week, they will tell me, Nuid magok nija bodewad mi ene yawet. What is that ene? Do you guys remember that? We had that earlier. I think we were talking about the weather. At least I think I had it already. It's like becoming. Become. That ene. Become. Bodewad mi ene yawet.
Yeah. Becoming.
What about Yahweh? What is Yahweh? Yahweh. What is that word Yahweh? Thou, Gadao. Nishna ben thou. Bodewad meaning thou. I am.
So we are.
To be something.
Oh.
So he or she. How does one become Potawatomi? So one time or twice every week, they'll tell me, how does one become Potawatomi? Someone will say this to me. They'll say, how do you be Potawatomi? Like they'll ask me this, and I even had a post up on Facebook today. Somebody was asking something almost similar, like, how do I learn my traditions, my culture, my history? And it's always a confusing question to get from people. It's even harder to answer it for people sometimes. But I would say, Bodewadmi Zichkawinin, Potawatomi doings. Yon Gadajesh Momanan, so use our language, Gadajesh Momanan. Nimedi, dance. Migamon, sing. Begednin o Sama, put down your tobacco. Yon, mishkakiwin, use your medicine. Maujeshnon, gather. Bakan bamazjik, with different Potawatomis. That's how you become Potawatomi. Because somebody was asking me that question. Like I said, people ask me this like all the time. Like somebody once said to me, like, hey, is there like a manual, like a book, like what am I going to encompass 1,000 years of history and stories and knowledge into some kind of easy to use manual that you can just kind of like, okay, this is it. I wish it was that simple perhaps sometimes, but then again, maybe I don't wish it to be that simple because then it'd be just too easy. Because we're an oral society. I mean, people will say, well, what book should I read? Well, read everything you can get, I guess. Read all the books you can, but always remember though that a lot of those books are written from a Chimokman perspective. You know, they're written by non-Potawatomi talking about Potawatomi people. So you have to look at them with a grain of salt, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's all these things. It's about relationships. It's about relationships with the earth, relationship with one another. And that's hard to explain to people. And that's why I always tell people the first thing to do is learn your language. If you want to be Potawatomi, how can you be Potawatomi if you can't see the world as the Potawatomi sees the world? What changes the way you see the world? The way that you think. If you can't think like a Potawatomi, you're not going to be, per se, Potawatomi. You're not going to be able to see it in the way that Potawatomi people traditionally see the world. You're going to struggle with that. But the more that you can get involved in your language and you learn your culture through your language, because I always tell people the language is like a portal. It's a way to look into the past and see what was important to our ancestors, but still what we value today as traditional Potawatomi people. It's all there. All that knowledge is there. Because somebody was trying to argue online about, somebody wanted to learn about their traditions. They were like, well, I grew up with my traditions and that's how I know. Excuse me. They can't be traditions if you didn't grow up with them. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I was always told that all the knowledge is out there. It just exists. It's out there. It's always out there. You just have to seek it. And for some people, that means going out and fasting. That might be putting down your sema, your tobacco, and praying and asking the Creator, Mamo Gosan, for health and help. Sure, I mean, it's beautiful if you grow up with some of your culture, you grow up with some of that knowledge, but that doesn't mean it's the bee's knees. It's not the end all. It's not like, oh, I grew up with my culture, therefore I have nothing else to learn. I got all the answers, and that doesn't mean that then I would want to put somebody else down for what they don't know. That's just like, what? Because that was basically what this premise was, is that they grew up with it, therefore it was their traditions, that you couldn't have traditions if you didn't grow up with it. I'm thinking, do you not understand how all of our traditions came to be? Our clans and all this stuff, it came through dreams. It came through spirits. It wasn't just suddenly, it was always there. I mean, new clans and new things came about because of dreams, because of visions people had. It's living in a traditional way, and that's really what it comes down to. You start doing these various things, and for everybody, it's a little different. I mean, some people may really get into dance, they may get into singing, they may get it, but using your tobacco, using your sema and praying with it, and believing in these traditional ways. But the number one thing in my mind is using your language. Use your language, because again, it's going to change the way you see the world. Our value system as traditional Anishinaabe people and the way the world sees the world, or I guess modern culture, they do not exist on the same plane of reality. I mean, we live in a society where it's me first. What do I want? And I want it now. That's completely backwards the way Anishinaabe people. We look at it as us, or what can I do for you? Even in our language, you comes first. You're before me. You're more important. The most important man in a village was often the guy that gave everything away. We believe when you give away, it comes back to you threefold. That's not the way, quote unquote, modern culture works. It says, oh, I need to accumulate. I need to have more than I need. I need to do this. I need to do that. I mean, even the way we treat our elders, we treat our elders with respect. We want our elders to be the first ones that eat. If your elder can't get up and get a plate of food, you take them a plate of food. Modern society says, oh, elder, they're in the way. Put them in a nursing home. Get them out of the way. So it's a complete value shift when it comes to living in a traditional mindset. And that's why you really got to start with the language, because if you haven't started to change your mindset, you can't even begin to even get your head around the way it is to be Potawatomi. Like it's because I can't tell you the number of times I've had conversations with people, and it happens more often now than it used to. You tried to explain something. I mean, I'm a first language speaker of English, and I've tried to explain a concept to somebody before that they just could not get. And I couldn't really make it make sense to them. It just, they didn't understand that that's not what we do. We don't do that. And it was just like, what? But it's because they didn't see it from the Anishinaabe way of looking at it. They didn't understand it from that mindset. And that's why you got to kind of start there if you really want to get to really be Potawatomi.
Hey, Justin, this is
Yes,
Kevin. This is Kevin. Hey, just a comment and I appreciate your teachings, because over the years that I've followed you and you've been instructing, one of the key things that have along with what you're saying that I so appreciate, and then that you've taught me through the language, but that I appreciate more as an individual now is just what I learned about, the words, whether it's something's animate or a lot inanimate. Because as it related to, you had some material I printed off, guys, 4 or 5 years ago, and it talked about it has helped me understand how our ancestors view how they cared for and lived with the earth, and it was sacred. And so my I've hunted and fished and trapped my whole life. I'm 62 years old, and I have a better appreciation today for how everything in nature is a brother or sister to us now. I mean, I feel that when I recently sent you pictures of the otter and some beaver. And I tell you, when I'm out in nature and out doing my thing, it is a void that I've had for years that you helped answer, and it was answered through my studies of the Potawatomi language, plain and simple. I tell that to everybody I meet. But I want to thank you for that. But I lost your video. I just have your audio for some reason. But could you, before we depart class or your lesson, could you go back over? I have, use your language, the Yon Gishtamoyon, and Namidin is dancing, but the other remaining ones, could you touch?
Oh, yeah, we can go back.
Okay.
I did go through that.
Did your video go off? Because I don't know if anybody else can see it. I hear you, but I'm connected. But
I did see my video is off. That's weird. Hold on here.
Okay.
That is weird. I don't know why that did. I don't know if I must have hit it.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm glad that you said that. It did just disappear. But yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing is people don't understand is it's about relationships. Being Potawatomi is about relationships. It's about relationships with one another. It's about relationships with the earth, the land, animals around you. Sometimes it's just like, even like when you're collecting medicine, you have to develop a relationship with those plants. You have to just kind of be out there in the woods, kind of smelling the elements, looking around for it. But you're developing a relationship with those animals. And when you put that tobacco down, you thank that plant for giving its life, you're developing a sense of mutual respect for that plant, mutual respect for that animal. You're developing relationships. And that's something that it's hard for people to understand, is that you have to develop those relationships, and they take time. That's why you have to be patient with people. You have to go around other Potawatomi people and hang out with them, commune, be together. So you have to have relationships not only with your relatives, direct relatives, but your more peripheral relatives, the earth, the land, all these things. You just have to develop those relationships to really feel maybe some of that connectedness to things. And then you realize that you come to a point where you realize you're not alone in anything you do. You stand there and you think to yourself, this is an analogy I've made over the years that I think is pretty powerful. Just because maybe your parents didn't speak the language, or maybe your grandparents did, or maybe your great grandparents, heck, maybe your great great grandparents didn't speak our language, but your great great grandparents did, and their parents before them, and their parents before them, and their parents for like 1,000 generations before. Think of all those people that are up there kind of cheering you on, they're rooting for you. And when you stand up and you're trying to live a traditional life, they're all right behind you. You're never alone. You might feel like you're alone in a room or in a moment, but they're all there with you. They're all they got your back. And what better way is that to feel than to feel like ancestors are all there with you? And when you speak your language, they really do. They can hear you. They can understand you. I mean, you're kind of announcing things out to the universe. They're with you.
Eh?
It's a powerful thing when you think of it like that. And, like, that's why it's hard for people to understand. Like, people want a book in English, English speakers. Everything you can learn is on Google, or it's on a book, or it's on Wikipedia, and that's not how it is with traditional values and traditional knowledge. Yeah, there's some of that stuff in books. I'm not saying there's not some decent books about this or that, but it's kind of like pick and choose. You got to decide, is this person doing this for the right reasons? Are they skewing this for their own? There's all that going on. But most traditional knowledge it's in the language, it's in the teachings, it's something that's beyond that. And you just have to kind of be patient with that.
Just one other thing. I don't want to take time away from your teaching because it's very valuable and I appreciate it. I know all of us do, but I shared this with Robert Collins in January. And anyway, I had a dear friend pass, and their son called me and told me that she had passed. And so I went out on my deck. It was a somewhat nice day for January up here. But anyway, I offered a prayer, and many of the words you've taught me, and I used some of the prayers words that from the prayer that you had provided, but you've taught me. But I offered tobacco. I said a prayer. And now we have eagles frequent our lake and look for fish and ducks and stuff. But anyway, after I offered this prayer, I looked up and I first thought it was a hawk, and it turned out it was a mature bald eagle. It flew right over us or my house, and it looked right at me. I mean, it was low enough that I could see, the eagle's head turn and look at me, and it was gone. The hair. I mean, I felt surreal, because I knew from the teachings that you've taught us, Justin, that my prayer was being carried up to the Creator, Kasham Nado or Mama Gosen, was being carried up by that eagle, and it had special meaning to me. And I actually called the son of the lady who had passed and told him exactly what I experienced. And I said, I'm telling you that happened, and it's real. Now others, I tell that to, that's just coincidental, no meaning or ties whatsoever.
There's not coincidence a lot of times. People like to take things like that are powerful moments. They like to write them off to coincidence like that.
Right. But it wasn't. I mean, to me, I really believe that was all meant to happen. But the teachings you taught us about the eagle and taking our messages up to the Creator, and I felt it, and that is all credited to what you're saying now, right?
Yeah, and I can tell you another story like that. I remember I used to live up in Hannahville, up in Escanaba, and there's actually quite a few eagles up that way. And there's this one area we used to always go looking for eagle feathers because they would nest over there, and they used to dump deer carcasses that had been hit on the highway. They would dump them over there. And so we'd always find eagle feathers over there. And I'd always see eagles over there, but I really didn't see them a lot when I was wandering around, like on the reservation, or if I was up in Escanaba. I didn't see them day to day very much. But I remember when I made the decision to come down here and work for the tribe down here, and it was a real difficult decision for me because I'd been working for the people in Hannahville for a couple of years, and I was really kind of uncertain about, how that was going to leave them and whatnot, and uncertain about the future. And I remember that day I saw 3 eagles. I usually never saw them at all, but I saw 3. One almost hit my car. Like it was like on the ground, and the feeding like had come up, and it was like within feet of me. And I was like, wow, but the whole time I'd lived there 2 years, I'd just hardly ever seen them out and about on a day-to-day basis, unless I went somewhere I knew there were eagles at, and I was just like, wow. And, it's moments like that, or it's things that you start to realize how powerful our ways really are. And that's the thing I mean about explaining these things. So it's hard to explain some of this stuff to people that don't believe that way, or they don't see it that way, because they're going to immediately say, well, it's coincidence. It's just happenstance. It just happened to work that way. Well, that's what they believe. But I don't say that about other people's beliefs. They think, they say, I believe this, that. I don't say, oh, that's just coincidence that happened. Or I wouldn't say that about someone else, but people are really quick to take traditional views and put them kind of that, oh, it's superstitious or that. But now I remember when this tornado hit up in Little Axe several years ago. I had a house in Little Axe, and that tornado, I was living in a housing addition up there, and there was a tornado coming. It was the same time they had the big one hit out in Moore, like the next day. But the day before that one hit
little axe. And I had put my sema down, my tobacco, and I had prayed, and I'd asked the Creator to watch over my family, watch over my house, and I prayed that that tornado would go north of me and kind of avoid me and leave us alone because it was coming in our direction. I knew it was coming. That tornado, I kid you not, it came into my housing complex, made it like this, turned, went this way, and then I went around. It like later I thought, God, I should have prayed it goes way far away because I feel bad because it hit the rest of the house. It isn't bad, but it completely missed my house. The house, like 100 yards away from me, was taken all the way down to the foundation. It ripped all the way to the foundation. My house, the fence was knocked over, and I had one shingle on my roof bent up. But that's how close that tornado was to my house, and it just went around it. And I was just like, and I never forget that. And I had a similar thing happen once years before that when I was in Forest County. It was the first time I'd ever seen anybody pray with their sema, really get it out, really believe hardcore in that tobacco. The storm started blowing in up there. I was at this immersion camp. And as soon as that storm blew in, these little old ladies, they took off, they ran over to their cars, got some sema, went down, put it in the water, bam, like immediately. And I kind of watched this happen, and I didn't do anything. And then later I got in my tent that night. That storm came in. It practically threw my tent into a tree. Like I abandoned my tent. It was anchored down, jumped in my car and slept in there that night. That also had a profound effect on me. I thought, man, next time a storm's coming like that, I'm putting my same down. And it's little lessons like that that you take with you, and it changes the way you see the world around you in a positive way, I think. And, but again, like you said, you can't really, and that's why it's hard to explain traditional things to people, because people want to know about ceremonies. They want to know about all that stuff, and I can tell you about all that stuff, but it comes down to, do I want to? I mean, do you believe the way I believe, or is it going to be something kind of novel or just kind of a mockery to you that, like, oh, that's neat that you think that way, but that's how I truly believe. So it's hard to share those kinds of things because people become so doubtful of things. So,
well, that's
but
what.
anyway,
But just like our exchange earlier this morning on the blessing of a home. I truly believe that. And we had our district meeting in St. Louis this past weekend. So I actually met two cousins of mine that we through our research, we realized we're cousins. But one of them asked me about that, and I told him, well, here's my belief and what I've always been taught. So before I tell them wrong and offer a prayer to them, that's why I was just validating with you that I'm doing it the right way. But I truly believe it, what you said, because I have sweetgrass, I use sage in our house all the time, and then
I've got sweetgrass over every doorway in my house.
Yeah, and I use tobacco like every day. Every morning I say my daily prayer and send it out. But I firmly believe in it, and it's habitual to me. But and
what's even more amazing with that stuff is you start to use that stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Like, I kid you not, I can almost smell sage if I go like this and I kind of lift my hands.
Yeah.
Because it's like something you're used to doing. Every time I smudge, I try to bring that smoke up. I try to bring it over my arms. And I can almost do that today, and I can almost smell that sage. It's just like part of who you are. And but like I said, so that kind of stuff is hard to explain to people. People want to know about that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing it with them, but it's like I said, it's kind of personal. It's very personal stuff, the way that you feel. And if you don't know that person sees those things the same way, they're just going to look at you like, this is crazy, or this is just, oh, that's neat. That's a novelty. And so I'm always a little bit squirmish about that. But that's why I say you kind of get into your language, and then that naturally puts you in contact with these other things,
Yeah. Well, this is good.
Let me go through these words real quick here, and we'll kind of finish on this. So Nimadin is telling one person, dance, Nimadin. Nagammon is telling somebody to sing. Bagednin, you're saying, put down sema, put down that tobacco. Zhitchkawinin are doings. So Bodewadmi, Zhitchkawinin, Potawatomi doings. Yon is the verb to do something. So not do something, use something, excuse me, yon. So it's like use, get the jeshmokan, use our language. Yon, use Mshkakiwan, use that medicine. Now Jishnon, you're telling someone, gather. Bakan Bodewadmi, gather with different Potawatomi. So gather together with different Potawatomi folks, is what you're saying. Now Jishnon. But like I said, it's a complicated question, and people don't realize how complicated it is. But people always, I cannot kid you, I get this question on a weekly basis, if not sometimes twice a week. And most people are very sincere. They really just want to be a part of their culture and be engaged in it. And I try to tell people that the way to do that is to start with your language and
Mm.
kind of grow with that, and you go from there. But it's a process. It's not an overnight thing. It's not like a light switch you flip on. Like, okay, now I'm traditional Potawatomi. Bam, here we go. You know,
Yeah.
it's a process. But and yes, it's absolutely easier if you grew up understanding some of that stuff. Sure, but it's something you definitely 100% can gain as an adult as well. You just have to be diligent with it, be patient with yourself.
What you said, I mean, I 100% agree. Is you have to live it. You have to live it. And I started out several years ago doing all the online courses that you offered, and then you and I've connected, and I've worked with Robert, and I've met other people there, and Shawnee, and talked and stuff. But I've been, I mean, aggressively daily studying this probably for 7 or 8 years. And I tell you, you're right. It's not well, I did that semester, now I've got my degree. No, it's not it. You have to live the Anishinaabe Potawatomi way of life, and
Yep.
and you do that daily, and you commit to it, and it becomes part of your DNA.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
it means so much to you.
Yeah. And I always joke with people, from time to time, I'll say, when I get up in the morning, I eat breakfast. I'm Potawatomi eating breakfast. I turn my TV on. I'm a Potawatomi turning my TV on. I mean, I am Potawatomi in whatever I do. And that's just how I live my life. And it's through those values, it's through that mindset. That's where the language comes into play, as it changes the way you see the world around you. And so you start to realize the things that you're doing are just acting in a traditional, respectful manner of things around you. It starts to come just normally after a while. So,
Hey,
Gamoan is my last slide, so we're gonna finish. Gamoan Zagich Orijo. Gamoan Zagich Orijo. Do I know what that is? What is Orijo?
Okeechobee right now, right?
Right now?
Right here, right now.
If it's raining outside right now, Gamoan
Come on. Okay.
Zagich Orijo. It's raining outside. Raining question outside right now. Wawika Wikmoengo. Wawika Wikmoengo. Wawika Wikmoen. So Wawika means from time to time, or kind of like intermittent. It's going to rain. It's going to rain on and off today. Wawika Wikmoengo. Going to rain on and off today. Wawika Wikmoengo. It's going to rain on and off today. The reason I changed this to a K here is it just sounds more like a K. If you put a week in front of it, so I like to write it that way. It doesn't sound like a G. It's not like weak. It's weak. That's how it sounds when you put that W-I with it. Wawika Wikmoengo. It's going to rain on and off today. Wawika Wikmoengo. So that's it for today. Kind of an interesting class. Kind of a little bit everywhere, but we're going to do some drumming here in a little bit. Kevin, if you want to hang around, you got some time.
Yeah.
I may have to, I may pause the recording and maybe turn it back on here. But I got to grab the drum before we do that. So, if you're around. I think what I'll do is I might just do it in that Singo ZB West group. Do it live from there maybe. Unless some of y'all wanted to hear it. Y'all want to hear it? No. Okay. Aha. Bamamina.
Miigwech.
Miigwech.